mic is on. Vinny? Hello. Ma'am, it's audible. Hello, Vinny. He's audible. Yes. My PPT also. Okay, ನಿಂದ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಾ. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Saurav Rakesh, second year post graduation journalism department, and welcome to the second day of the international webinar on communication in the digital era. After an informative session on email etiquettes by Mr. Abhiranjan Jagannath yesterday, today we will commence the second and third sessions respectively. The first session will be conducted by Ms. Neha Maloli on the topic Soft Skills for Women and Industry Perspective, and the second session by Saurabh V on the topic Sports Coverage in the Digital Era. Now, I invite Sahana R, second year PG, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, to introduce our second speaker, Ms. Neha Maloli.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the second day of the webinar on communication in the digital era. I'm glad to introduce today's presenter, Ms. Neha Maloli. Hailing from Mysore, Ms. Neha completed her Bachelor of Engineering in Information Science from Sri Jayachamaragendra College of Engineering, Mysore, and Masters in Computer Science from University of Texas at Dallas, Texas, USA. She has previously worked as software test engineer at LSI India, Bangalore, member of technical staff at NetApp India, engineering intern at NetApp Wichita, Kansas, USA, and senior software engineer at NetApp India. Currently, Ms. Neha is a certified professional Scrum Master, business analyst, and an ISTQB certified tester. The Python Bible TM, everything you need to program in Python, Udemy MOOC 2018, and Introduction to User Experience Design, Georgia Institute of Technology, Coursera MOOC 2017. Her core competencies include project planning and execution, requirement design and schedule development, test management, defect reporting and tracking, measurement and metrics, quality assurance, cross-functional leadership, change management, resource management, and conflict resolution. Her key contributions include enhancing business requirements, strategizing test execution for GBST's capital markets product, shares for the ASX chess replacement project, worked with Coles retail business to align NCR's Rio fast lean cash management operations to the exciting Coles analytical business requirements and to prioritize user stories for expedited implementation. And she has also contributed to many other projects as well. At present, she is working in Brisbane, Australia. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm really humbled with the elaborate introduction. And it is my absolute honor to be a part of the international webinar conducted by the Department of Journalism for St. PHILOMENA'S College, Mysore. And I understand it is afternoon, 3 o'clock in India. And should I check how's the Josh? Unfortunately, we are at COVID times and we don't have a live audience for me to say hi, sir, or hi, ma'am, for my question of how's the Josh. But I hope all of you are fully pumped up for this session on soft skills for women. So let me just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible now. So,
Yes, it's visible, ma'am. Please.
Thank you. So why are we talking about soft skills today? So the agenda for today's interaction is going to be what are soft skills? Why soft skills for women specifically? Why an industry perspective of it? And what are the 9 top tools to sharpen your own soft skills? So what exactly are soft skills? A quick Googling of what are soft skills is going to give you the basic Wikipedia definition, which says it is nothing but a combination of people skills, social skills, communication skills, character or personality traits, and the whole list continues. So basically, soft skills relate to how you execute your work. And whatever technical knowledge you learn through your education is going to enable you to actually perform your work. But these environmental factors that you gather with experience is going to enable how you work during your, it just doesn't have to be work. It could be the way you interact with your teammates, even in your college, or the soft skills that you could implement at home to deal with all your family members. And most importantly, of course, when you finally step out of the comforts of your home and or your college environment, how you work with your colleagues, how you adjust with your teammates, everything accounts to this question of soft skills. And the basic examples of soft skills are listening, nonverbal communication, teamwork, positivity, negotiation, presentation, verbal communication, conflict resolution, etc. And we are going to focus primarily on nonverbal communication and verbal communication today, and a little bit of conflict resolution as well. So what are nonverbal communications? Your body language, the way you modulate your tone, the way you talk, the way you interact with people. And verbal communication, of course, the way you write emails and the way you definitely talk to other people and anything that you directly express. And also conflict resolution, if and when you have problems with your colleague, your teammate, your project team member, anyone, how good are you at resolving them? So basically, since we are trying to address this problem and especially address it for women, do you think women actually have a problem in honing their soft skills? Do you think there is something lacking? Is this a problem worth addressing? Let's look at it from a basic personality perspective. When you first look at this image, I am calling her Miss Fine. What do you think the kind of person she is? The way she is standing, the kind of smile on her face, what kind of personality could she be? Don't you think the basic things that we assume about this person is she's shy, soft-spoken, gentle, tender? I think so. That is the first impression I get about Miss Fine. When we look at Miss Sunshine on the other side, what kind of person do you think she is? Doesn't she look expressive, confident, courageous, more assertive? Definitely gives me the vibe when I look at Miss Sunshine. So when these are the two basic personalities that we are able to identify just by the mere appearances and their body language, there is a whole domain of research which has been carried out on this topic by Catherine Cook-Briggs and Isabel Myers, leading to the world famous metrics called the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which has 16 different personality types identified for all human beings. And the way these personalities are identified are defined by the characteristics which you see on the right side of the screen. Extroverts or introverts. You can be either one of them. You're either a person driven by sensors or you are very intuitive. You're either a thinker or you're a feeler. You're either a judgmental person who judges by basically, who takes judgmental decisions, and another one being a perceiver. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, I've given this link here called 16personalities.com. They have a very interesting set of questions for you to answer. It is probably a 20-minute quiz which asks you about how you respond to different scenarios. And if you answer all of them, it will tell you which personality type you belong to, which are the types defined on the left-hand side of the screen, the 16 different types. Most likely, all of us are going to belong to one of these 16 types defined, and you could not go wrong with that. And when I did my test, I belonged to INTJ, which is the mastermind here. And a little bit of characteristics, I also felt I was INTP. So basically, I am a kind of an introvert based on the results I got on that quiz. And I am more of an intuitive person. I'm more of a thinker, and I'm more of a perceiver. So based on these different types of research and analysis, there are 16 different personality types which have been already identified. And for us to be able to hone the skills for us to do our jobs efficiently, we either have to learn what are the weaknesses of our personality type and work on it so that we strive to become something which we have always aspired to be. So for the simplicity's sake of this lecture, let us just concentrate on these two types that we all are familiar with and we are able to identify, and let's take our discussion forward from there. So Miss Fine and Miss Sunshine, what are they both having in common? Both are women, and basic feminine traits include the nurturing nature of every woman, the high emotional quotient, the sensitivity, sweetness, supportiveness, gentleness, expressiveness, empathy, affection, tenderness. So what are these? This is the human nature of being a woman, and it's highly likely that both these women do possess these traits from their birth. They're natural to this. It is built in inside their own personality type. But due to different environmental circumstances and the way they have been learning from their own experiences, they both have nurtured certain qualities which have made them what we think they are. Either they are shy. Miss Fine is very shy because of her environmental factors, the way she's grown up, whereas Miss Sunshine is a confident personality type because of her experiences and how she has honed her own skills. So today's session is all about accepting what we naturally are, being okay with what our nature is and what we have nurtured, but slightly trying to tweak some of the characteristics that we have and making sure that we align with what we aspire to become. Maybe Miss Fine is happy being a gentle person. She's okay to be a soft-spoken person, but somewhere she might be having these feelings of, oh, I wish I could talk like Miss Sunshine. I wish I was more assertive when I'm communicating so that people took me more seriously in my group discussions with my friends in the class. My lecturers took me more seriously, and I was able to convince a client when I'm trying to sell a product. So maybe Miss Sunshine is feeling these little insecurities, which we will try to address and see how we can hone our skills to probably become like Miss Sunshine, who is more confident, who's got everything sorted to accomplish better goals in her life. All right. So can we address this problem? Yes, that is why we are here today. And when I'm saying soft skills for women and focusing everything around women, are we talking about feminism here? No, not today. That is a whole different topic, and it needs a lot of time to discuss that from the beginning. So we'll hold it for another time. And also, since we are talking about soft skills from an industry perspective, why am I specifically calling out the industry perspective to be so important? Because I have been working in the IT industry for nearly 11 years now. This is my 10th year, and I have made a lot of mistakes, and I really want to pass on that information and how I have learned over time not to be making those mistakes over and over again. So I wish I had someone when I was in my college to tell me that, you know what, these are the kind of situations that are going to happen in the professional world, and you should not react like that. You should do this. So if somebody had guided me back then, probably I wouldn't have learned it the hard way. But that's why I'm here. I want you to learn from my mistakes and be well equipped to face the industry. And the second reason why I want to bring in the industry perspective is the cross-cultural experiences. I've been fortunate to work in India, USA, Taiwan, and Australia, and each place has taught me a lot of things about how cultures are valued and how different the approaches are in different parts of the world. And I really want to bring that to the table about how we can change a little bit as Indians in the professional world. And the subconscious bias that we all have, we'll discuss that later, and how I want all of us to learn from our own leaders and mentors who we have defined for ourselves in our lives. So, what have we covered so far? We know what are soft skills. We know why we are trying to address this specifically for women, and also why we want to talk today from an industry perspective. So without much ado, let's get started with the 9 tools to sharpen your soft skills. So coming to the very first one, I have assertive verbal communication. So what is assertive verbal communication? When someone approaches you and asks you a question, the way you respond to it leaves them with an impression about you. Somehow, we women always feel privileged about everything. Right from being a fetus, where we have high chances of being killed because of infant feticide for being a girl child, right from surviving infant feticide, and right from having the opportunity to be educated. Not all women get to get educated, and after education, the fact that we are safe, the fact that we are allowed to work after getting married, the fact that we are allowed to work after having kids, we feel thankful for everything. We feel privileged. We feel as if somebody has gifted us all those things, and we are naturally not entitled to live, to be educated, to be working, and all of these things. So it has become a nature of a woman to feel thankful about everything, and somehow this approach of feeling thankful about everything stops us from taking credit when the credit is due. If you have done your project well, most of the times I've heard my friends or other women say that, oh yeah, thank you, but my teammate, he also helped a lot, that is why, yeah, it's not just my effort, it is a team effort. Why? You have put in your hard work, you have done everything you needed to do an amazing job with your project. I have never heard men speak like that. When somebody appreciates them, they own the appreciation, they accept the appreciation, they are grateful about the appreciation. But women are always submissive, always servile, always don't want to accept the credit at all. They always get into the shell. So that is the first definition we all need to learn and change. It is okay to be thankful, but not profusely thankful, but instead be grateful for the opportunity, but don't think you're underprivileged and you should feel extremely lucky for something should have happened. You have put in the efforts. Be grateful. You have done a good job. Own your success. Coming to the second point about being sorry. When a task is not done, you back yourself up with data, answer why you have not done it, and just apologize. Be apologetic for not doing something, but not profusely sorry about it. If your project teammate or somebody says, hey, you were supposed to write this and give it to me by today. Yes, I was supposed to write, but this happened. I'm really sorry about it. I apologize for the delay. And that's it. I have seen this in multiple places, especially in office, when there is an accusation, when there is something to be owned up, men happily own it up and be like, oh yeah, I couldn't do that yesterday. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, we'll get it done today. That is the language they speak in. But the moment the acquisition is on a woman, she's like, yes, sir, I was supposed to do that. I'm sorry, sir. I'll definitely do it today. We don't want that drama. We are in a professional world. We learn to accept our mistakes and we learn from it, we acknowledge that we did a mistake, we feel apologetic about it, and just move on. Don't let the whole world walk on you. Don't become a carpet. Don't be a part of a stampede that you allow everybody to walk over you just because you feel all servile and submissive. No. The third thing, being the sole guilt owners. This especially happens with slightly more confident people, I must say. I've seen this a lot happening in project groups where, let's say you all are doing a group project. Let's say there are 4 members in the project. Somehow, usually one person in that group is the one who'll always be interacting with the lecturer or with the professor. The others are always there to support this person, but this one girl is always the front of the face for that team. She is the one who's always telling, oh ma'am, yes, we will submit the report. Ma'am, when will you give the feedback? She is always the face of the project group. But when the professor is unhappy with the project or the HOD gives a feedback, the facing person, this person who's been representing their team always, should not become the sole guilt owner for all the mistakes that they have done as a group. It is a group project, it is a team project. Yes, she has been the face of your team, but doesn't mean when there is a problem, she is ready to face the problem by getting the bashings from the lecturer or the professor, but the guilt has to be shared for all the mistakes done. Owning your mistake is fine, but if it is a group activity, let the other members in the team also know what difficulties were faced by you, what they could have done better to help you out in such a situation, why you as a team shouldn't have landed in this situation at all. And all of you need to take learnings from this and not just that one front-facing person. Moving on to the next one, asking versus telling. This is interesting. I have always seen this happen, especially when a lady is trying to suggest a new idea to her team, which also has male counterparts. Let's say, for example, you guys are doing a PowerPoint presentation for a project, and our Miss Fine, who we have defined here on the top left side of the screen, we know what kind of a person she is. Let's just say you have a Miss Fine in your group. How do you think she would ask you to change the color of the background of your PPT? She is most likely going to say something like, I was just thinking, maybe black background would suit better. I'm just asking, what do you think? This is her intonation. This is how she's going to ask. But on the right hand side, we have our Miss Sunshine. Mind you, I'm not asking you to be arrogant. I'm just suggesting an assertive approach to communication where our Miss Sunshine, on the other hand, would have said, I think a black background would suit better because we have lighter text. Miss Sunshine is always going to back data up with the facts that she's going to present. She is not just going to say, I like the black background. You have to back it up with data. That is when you telling something is going to have weightage. You cannot just throw your opinion and expect people to acknowledge your liking and incorporate it into their work. You have to back it up with data. And when you have data to back it up, you don't have to ask anymore. You can suggest, you can tell with confidence, and you have your data to say why you want to do so. This black background and PPT was just an example. I hope you get the underlying current of assertive communication behind it. Always back up facts and data so that whatever you're telling has a weightage, and then you no longer have to ask for such things. Moving on to the next one, flowery language over command language, command over language. So is flowery language bad? No, flowery language is not bad. Whom do we have as the best example? All of you have heard Shashi Tharoor speaking. What beautiful English, what beautiful language, what beautiful delivery. He has the most complicated words and the most elaborate vocabulary that I have ever seen in anybody talking. It sounds very beautiful, but is your audience equipped with that knowledge to understand the flowery language? Is that elaborate vocabulary required for you to convey the idea that you want to? Maybe not all the time. The other example that I could take in this scenario is ex-president Mr. Barack Obama. I have always listened to his speeches and understood every bit of it because he uses the language for a common man. And that is more easily grasped by a common man, and it's more easily understood, more easily accepted. You feel like you belong to the same genre as someone talking to you with that intonation, and that helps. So flowery language is good only when you know your audience is capable of digesting that language. Otherwise, having a good command over the language is sufficient for you to convey the message and get things done. Moving on to the next one. Sartorial and tonsorial appearances. What are these things? Sartorial, your tailor, whatever your tailor makes, your clothes, and tonsorial, your hair. Sartorial and tonsorial, so basically your physical appearance. Being a woman, I know all of us end up in these pressure situations to always be really nicely dressed, irrespective of what other efforts we have put to get a task done. There is somehow some subconscious pressure to do that. But the best example that I always look up to for focusing on presentability, on the other hand, is Dr. Sudha Murthy. Never, ever, ever is her appearance a problem for the tremendous work that she's been doing and helping the society with. All her talks always focus on informing the listeners about how she never finds interest in shopping, how she thinks profuse expenditure on clothes or jewelry is an absolute waste of time compared to the same time utilized for social service. Look up to role models like her and understand that you just have to be presentable for a situation. Being presentable is sufficient for you to have already established an assertive communication and not extravagant sartorial and tonsorial appearances that you need to be bothered about. So moving on to the next slide, now that we have wrapped up with assertive verbal communication, is body language. So what exactly is body language? I am dividing this into two major categories. Active body language impacts, so which is very much visible by others, the way you interact with someone, and which is highly noticeable. The first thing, eye contact, and the second thing, firm handshake. Eye contact is something extremely important, especially in a corporate world setting where you're having conversation with your seniors in the team, when you're having conversations with your management, and you are presenting a seminar. Unfortunately, I am presenting a seminar and I cannot have eye contact with any of you. And just last week, I was telling my parents about how meaningless a video call is without the reality of having eye contact. It is extremely disappointing. I would love to be giving this presentation in St. Philomena's College and nod when I look at you, make sure that you are grasping a little bit of what I'm saying, have those little smiles. I really miss that thanks to COVID, but yes. So eye contact is extremely important. And coming to handshakes, you cannot shake someone's hand like this. It has to be a firm handshake, which is going to be your resume. Your handshake is your resume. The way you shake hands with the interviewer when you're going to attend your campus interviews, the way you're going to shake your hand with your HOD when he's congratulating you for something, everything tells about the kind of person you are, the amount of confidence you have. It has to be a perfect handshake. You cannot slip away like this. And of course, don't do this as well. Yeah, I mean, that does goes without saying. I expected nobody to be doing that. So yeah, don't be too hard as well. It pains, but yeah, otherwise you get the point. Moving to the next one, which is a passive body language impact. Why am I saying passive? Because which is something very subtle, and it is not easily recognized that all of us are doing these mistakes, but it has a long-term impact if you behave in these ways. So what are the areas of passive body language impacts? Seat selection and virtual presence. So coming to seat selection, I've also been a really naughty college student. And yes, like all of you, whenever there was a lecture in a conference room or something, me and my friends would grab the seat away from the lecturers. There's nothing, I was never scared of my lecturers. I was good at studies, I was in good terms with my lecturers, but somehow me and my friends always sat away from them. And even this behavior continued in the initial days of my office life, where the entire team is called into a conference room for a meeting, and if my manager is seated on one side of the conference room, me and my friends would gather on the other side. You cannot do that. You have to occupy primal positions in the conference rooms or in an auditorium. You have to make your presence felt. You should be visible. You should be presentable, and your lecturers, your professors, your managers should know that you are in that conference room, you are paying attention to the activity that has been happening, you are very much mentally and physically present in the conference room, so that you are actively engaging and you're interested in whatever is happening. You have to make that presence felt, which is going to take a little bit of practice, but definite guaranteed long-term benefits, where everybody knows you're reliable. If you are spending your time on an activity, it means something to you. That makes a lot of difference. You're giving out an impression about you, saying you care about what is happening, and which is more than enough in most of the cases, just to give a perception that you are involved. And the second thing, virtual presence, that is specific to COVID times, where all of us are having webinars, we are having online conferences. During my work days, I have online meetings throughout the day. And because of COVID, it is sometimes difficult, and some people who are quiet by nature tend to become aloof because you're not meeting them in person. People forget you if you don't make your presence felt in the virtual world as well. You have to use those buttons to raise your hand, ask questions even when you're attending your online lectures, make your lecturers know that you're genuinely interested in the online class that they're teaching, and show that you are genuinely interested in any meetings that you attend, and please participate, converse, communicate more. These are difficult times, and you cannot let go of opportunities like virtual meetings or virtual conferences to, create an impression. You have to make your presence felt even through digital platforms. Communication is the key, and that is why we even have this whole webinar going on communication in the digital era. It is extremely important. Moving on to the next slide, which is my favorite, and it is the tool number 3 that I'm going to present before you. This is called power position. So Amy Cuddy, who is an American social psychologist, speaks about something called as power positions. I'll just click on this YouTube link and a video will play, and later we can discuss about what exactly Miss Amy is trying to tell us.
So I want to start by offering you a free, no-tech life hack, and all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. I became especially interested in...
The video isn't seen.
Yes,
Can you just...
I'm just sharing. 1 second.
Yeah.
Just a second. I have two monitors here. I'm trying to pull it on top of the other. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know.
I'm offering you a free, no-tech life hack, and all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power and dominance? Well, so in the animal kingdom, they are about expanding. So you make yourself big, you stretch out, and humans do the same thing. So they do this both when they have power sort of chronically, and also when they're feeling powerful in the moment. So powerful people tend to be, not surprisingly, more assertive and more confident. Physiologically, there also are differences on two key hormones, testosterone, which is the dominance hormone, and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We decided to bring people into the lab and run a little experiment. And these people adopted for 2 minutes high power poses or low power poses. And I'm just going to show you 5 of the poses, although they took on only 2. This is what happens. They come in, they spit into a vial. We, for 2 minutes, say, you need to do this or this. We then ask them, how powerful do you feel on a series of items? And then we take another saliva sample. Here's what we find on testosterone. From their baseline when they come in, high power people experience about a 20% increase, and low power people experience about a 10% decrease. Here's what you get on cortisol. High power people experience about a 25% decrease, and the low power people experience about a 15% increase. So 2 minutes lead to these hormonal changes that configure your brain to basically be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or really stress reactive. But the next question, of course, is, can power posing for a few minutes really change your life in meaningful ways? And so what matters and where you want to use this is evaluative situations. We decided that the one that most people could relate to was the job interview. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this, right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom. Okay, so we bring people into a lab and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded. They're being judged also. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis. They're blind to the conditions. They have no idea who's been posing in what pose. They end up looking at these sets of tapes and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers. We don't want to hire these people. But what's driving it? It's not about the content of the speech. It's about the presence that they're bringing to the speech. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Tiny tweaks can lead to big changes. Before you go into the next stressful evaluative situation, for 2 minutes, try doing this in the elevator, in a bathroom stall, at your desk behind closed doors. That's what you want to do. Configure your brain to cope the best in that situation. Get your testosterone up, get your cortisol down, and it can significantly change the outcomes of their life. Thank you.
So, yeah. Am I audible? No.
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you. All right, so we saw the video of Amy Cuddy. I understand it is a condensed video, so it was really fast. So just to summarize that, what Dr. Amy Cuddy was saying is, you all have to practice power positions in just before a stressful situation that you're going to get into. So if you're going to an interview, sit and read the notes like this. Don't practice all the low power positions. Don't crouch, don't make yourself feel like something bad is going to happen. Instead, stretch out, have a wide arm stance, have a power position, and that is indirectly going to trigger the hormones in your brain, more cortisol, like she says, and more testosterone, like she says, and which is going to help you reduce your stress levels and make you feel all the more powerful. And to practice all of these power positions just before getting onto stressful scenarios like probably your vivavos or your job interviews or a very critical discussion with your manager at your workplace. And trust me, it has worked for me all the time. And not kidding, I always go to the washroom or the restroom or get myself into a conference room, lock the door, practice these positions for about 2 minutes. And that has definitely helped me feel more confident and deliver my presentations or deliver any sort of an examination or interview with a better level of confidence. It works. All right, moving on to the next one, emotional desensitization. So women are sensitive. It is our nature we are born with. We have a high emotional IQ. But should we really act according to it? This is something my father has always told me. Respond, don't react. So what is responding and what is reacting? Let's say your professor asks you, why didn't you submit the project report yesterday? Wasn't it the deadline yesterday? And you cannot immediately flip back and say, oh, you know that the college printer was not working. It was broken, so I couldn't print it out. You knew this. That is instant reaction. What is to respond? Yes, ma'am, I plan to submit the report before the deadline, but the printer at the hostel really broke down. I had not planned for last minute risks, and this is a learning. And I will definitely plan ahead from the next submissions. However, I do have an online copy. I can email it to you. That way I will still be in the deadline, but definitely I'll plan better for next time. That is something you give yourself some time to rationally think, frame your responses, and then deliver it and not instantly react. That way we are emotionally desensitizing ourselves. And the second point, ask why and seek answers. When someone is upset with you, maybe your colleague, your teammate, or whoever it is, always first introspect and ask yourself why. What is it that I did that could have made them feel bad? And also involve with the person involved and ask them, and don't assume, and seek answers from them and have an open communication. That way you're not assuming and getting into a rabbit hole of your own imaginary emotions of why something is wrong between the two of you. And the third thing here is circle of concern versus circle of influence versus circle of control. This is something very interesting. Look at the diagram on the right side. The diagram is pretty self-explanatory. So circle of control is something extremely personal to you. What do you buy for yourself when you go shopping? What do you eat? What do you invest in? What do you read? What food do you think you should be eating? That is something that you control for yourself, and you should most definitely not try to influence this onto the others. What is the second circle saying? The circle of influence. Probably there is, your business needs to succeed. So you have to influence the people around you to buy your product. So you're trying to market. You have got a promotion at work. So once you're promoted, you need to have a team of your own probably, and then you need to let your influence on that team. And a lot of other factors where you are trying to, have your influence and get things done. That is circle of influence. And the third thing is circle of concern. Maybe the news is something which concerns you. Yes, COVID happened. You're worried. You're looking at Worldometer every day. You're looking at the numbers increasing. and maybe the politics, maybe government, maybe IPL, which IPL team is doing good, which IPL team is doing bad. That is something which concerns you, but you absolutely have no control over it. You cannot plan how Kohli is going to play that day. You cannot plan whether IPL is going to win or RCB is going to win or CSK is going to lose. You have absolutely no control. And when you do not have any control on these things, it is absolutely meaningless to have disagreements or to have fights with somebody around you just because something concerns you. You cannot have fights about politics. You should not be fighting about who won IPL and who did not. And you cannot estrange your relationships with your teammates, with your colleagues, because of the fact that they all belong to your circle of concern. The only thing that should matter to you is your circle of control. So always have this in mind whenever you think of an argument. Is this my circle of concern? Is this my circle of influence or control? If someone's coming and disturbing my circle of control, then yes, go ahead and fight. Nobody can tell you what you should be eating, of course, except mothers. They are going to tell you what you have to eat. That is okay. But yeah, otherwise. Anyway, so I hope you all got the point. Moving on to the next one. This is slightly a sensitive slide, and don't quote me directly saying I've been trying to demoralize you all, but this is something that happens to many of us. There are certain emotional situations where we end up crying in public places, and we don't want to be doing that. So do not cry. Yes, women have higher IQ, women have mood swings, women have hormonal imbalance throughout a month due to our menstrual cycles, and it is okay. We go through a lot of ups and downs, but it is absolutely okay. But please, in your office environment or in your workplace or in your colleges, in front of anybody, please do not cry. And please plan your month based on the emotional quotient. And there are days in a month where you're feeling high energy. There are days in your month where you're more irritable. There are days in your month where you have low energy. So plan your activities accordingly. When you're feeling highly energetic, you can have complicated tasks, group activities. You are more energized to have discussions with your friends. So that is okay. When you're already irritable, choose solo activities, do focused tasks, read books, do activities which are of minimal interaction. And then obviously during that time of the month, when you're feeling very low, plan for small term goals, plan for your rewards, watch movies, have that all for that time of the month so that you are well balanced out throughout the month. And if you still want to cry no matter what, please cry only in the washrooms or go home and cry, not ever in office or in front of your classmates or whatever. Try to avoid it at the max. And there is one practical trick that has always helped me. If you still end up in an extremely emotional situation, please use your tongue and press it against the upper palate, and it is going to take your tears back in. It works for me. I have been in emotionally distressing situations, and it has always worked for me. This is a quick trip. Yeah. Moving on to the next one. Selective revelation. Always very, very important. Please know that the lesser information you share about you, the less equipped others are to hurt you. And the second point, your plans for the future, your career, your marriage, your life is only for you to plan and not a public information to be shared. And keep others' secrets always with you. No rumors, no gossips. Please make it a principle of your life to maintain secrets and not let it go. It's simpler that way. And the fourth one, like Dr. Sudhamurthy says, speak the truth because you don't have to remember the lie otherwise. So Here we are seeing, this was just an example that I wanted to have. I'll quickly run through it in the interest of time. So this is our manager here. This practically happened at one of my organizations where I was working for. So our manager threw an opportunity in the team saying, you know, a particular project has come up and the person has to travel to Europe to meet the client and get this project done. And one particular girl in the team was interested, and she said, oh yes, I'm ready to travel and I can do this project. And the manager asked, are you sure you want to travel? And unfortunately, this lady in the team, she was like our Miss Shine. And she said, of course I can travel. My husband is traveling all the time for his work. And I have a supportive family. They are very proud of my career and they will let me travel, not a problem. And then the manager said, you want to travel because your husband is traveling and not because you want to take this project to a success. You want to travel because you think your family is going to be proud of you. You want to travel because you have a supportive family who is going to let you travel. That is not the person we are looking for. We are looking for our Miss Sunshine who is going to be telling things like, yes, I'm flexible to travel. I have traveled before and I can handle this project very well. I'm very well equipped with all the knowledge for this project. And also, I have a successful track record. I have delivered previous projects successfully. So this is the basic information revelation that I'm talking about, where do not reveal your personal information for professional gain. It is not on the same table at all for discussion. Always stick to your professional side and deliver only your professional side to the world. Moving on to the next one, perception management. Have you all seen this joke? We have got WhatsApp forwards, something similar to this. When a girl needs help, the whole world is ready to help, but when a boy needs help, there's nobody. We have more scenarios like this. The meme in this slide says, oh, let's all get together and finish that problem with 5 other guy friends of mine. And another example. Here they are showing us a girl in engineering having a problem and all the boys around her helping her out. But when a guy has a problem, there is nobody to help us out. We have all laughed at this joke, but there is an underlying current which makes me feel very bad about this. Don't you think we should be changing the narrative? We girls are capable. All the examinations we've been doing well, we've been putting effort, we have been proving ourselves, and we no longer have any scope for such jokes, and it is our responsibility to change the narrative. And how do we do that? In small ways. We need to do our own work because we can. Try to take minimal help as possible. Don't always be like, oh, I'm not able to do this, let me ask that person, let me ask this person. Google has all the answers for you. Get your own work done. And whenever there are things required to be carried, there is a huge, for journalism students of St. Philomena's, you have your recording lab, you have your huge video cameras, your tripods, your equipments. Just because you're a female student doesn't mean you should always bank on your male counterparts in your class to be helping you move those things around. Create your own definition. You can lift those things, you can carry things around. Until it is physically possible, please do it by yourself. We have to change this narrative. We cannot be sissy anymore. And be available until it is safe to do so. Don't always have this impression of, oh, I'm a girl, so maybe it is okay. The project meeting is from 5 to 6:30, let me leave, and all those things. You can be available until you think it is safe to do so. Beyond that, set a deadline for your entire team. Create a narrative that this is the time we are going to work on, and let that be a definition for the whole team. So these are the perception that we need to change, and it is extremely important that we set the tone right. Moving on to the next one, being ready always. The Forbes magazine recently published an article in which it says women have careers in 4 phases, one in their 20s, one in their 30s and 40s and 50s. So what happens in your 20s is you try to learn a lot, you have no dependents, you're not married yet, you're exploring, and the career is all for yourself. So either you do extremely well in this career at this point in time, or when you get into your 30s, a lot of things come crashing. Maybe you've got married, you're having children, you're not able to focus on your career and all those things. And in your 40s is when you realign your priorities and start delivering again. And in your 50s, there could be a chance that you rediscover everything that you have learned in all these years and start something new of your own, and you can completely bloom in your career even in your 50s. So be always ready. Never think this is not the right time. Now I have to get married. Now I have to have children. Your career can bloom at any time. So do not restrict yourself at all. And that is a very nice article. I will publish the link in the chat later below, and you could read that article again. And moving on to the next concept of being ready always. Throughout your career, there is somebody or the other going to tell you that you're not yet ready for this. You are not yet ready to be a team leader. You're not yet ready to be a manager. Always ignore those advices. Do what it takes to be ready. Put in that effort and you will get there, and don't let people pull you down. And job description versus job application. This is something which is very interesting, and I always wanted to bring it up, where I've always seen that whenever there is a job description and open job position, the men always rush in and apply, even if 2 or 3 criterias of it match, whereas a lady is always going to look at each and every line in that job description, compare it with the resume. Oh, I don't know this skill. I don't know this fact. Oh, maybe I should not apply. I don't know everything that is mentioned in the job description. Never fall to that trap. It is okay. Push yourself hard. Apply, learn whatever is required for that job, and if things work out, they work out. So don't hesitate, don't step back. Moving on to the 8th one, conflict resolution. We've already spoken about this in a lighter sense, not in a lighter sense, sorry, in briefly in one of the slides, where I said always when there is a misunderstanding between 2 people, first introspect. Second step, involve the other person with whom you're having a conflict and try to have a dialogue and understand what the problem is, action on the problem. And even then, if things don't work out, then escalate maybe to the next level, your team lead, your manager, your lecturer in college, or your HOD, or whoever it is. But escalation, let it be the absolute last resort. And moving on to the last slide, being human and not just a woman. See, culturally in India, we are always made to believe that we are women. We are always taught to behave that we are women, and a lot of definition surrounds around the gender about what we are. And this is what I was telling about the cultural experiences that I have had working in different places, where not a single day in other countries I have been made to realize that when I'm in an office setting, oh, I'm talking to a male counterpart. Oh, this is another female counterpart. Oh, I'm a girl, I'm a lady. Never does that happen. So we have to beat this cultural bias and just be a person, be a human, and just don't be the sympathy magnet of trying to be, oh, I'm a woman, so I'll behave in certain ways. No, that is not going to work. And role play. You can be this Miss Fine inside. You can be this really shy person. You can be an introvert, but for your job, when it demands, you're no longer a woman. You're no longer the shy self. You have to be what it takes for you to deliver that job, for you to get the work done. You have to role play. You can adorn the act of being Miss Sunshine and deliver and perform on that day, and you'll just be fine. So these are the 9 tools that we wanted to talk about, and I will just give you a bonus slide of what you can look at every day. I don't mind you taking a screenshot of this slide. I want all of you to concentrate on self-care daily goals. Maybe it's your morning routine, your food habits, your exercise, judicious use of social media, and definitely please have goals to read books every day by people like Dr. Sudhamurthy, Michelle Obama, Ayn Rand. They're really empowering women, and reading more content from such women are definitely going to help you build your own confidence and deliver much better results and be what you aspire to be. And since this is a communication in digital era and we are going through a tough time across the globe, I insist, please have mentors, your mothers, your mother-in-laws. Yes, mother-in-laws also. Don't ever get into that taboo of I cannot talk to my in-laws. No, they are all yours. They are going to be supportive. Don't have taboos reaching out to your aunts, your cousins, your seniors, your teachers, your managers. People will not let you be alone. You are not alone when you're in a problem. You're not alone when you're troubled. Talk to them, engage in conversations, and you will be fine. And even if none of this is going to help you, there is no taboo about seeking counseling. There is no taboo about mental health. Please reach out. And the communication in digital era has made it so easy to have online counseling as well. For example, Cult, all of you would have heard the gym chain in India, Cult, and they also provide mental health sessions, and Cult Mind is going to help you with all the counseling services that you would need if at all you feel you need help. Don't hesitate to seek help. Communicate with any of these forms. So that's all I had from my end. And now you all are soft skill experts. You know about assertive verbal communication, body language, power position, emotional desensitization, selective revelation, perception management, being ready always, conflict resolution, being a human and not just a woman, and please seek help. And that's it from my end. Thank you. And like what I read today in LinkedIn, this is a very interesting that I happened to read today. Having a soft heart in this cruel world is a strength and not a weakness. So as women, we are bound to have soft hearts, but we'll just learn the soft skills so that we are better placed to face our own challenges and also aspire to become what we are. So that's it from my end. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Neha. Now, Dr. Vagdevi HS, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, will take over for the Q&A sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neha, for that wonderful presentation. Taking us through non-verbal to verbal and bringing in Meyer-Bridges indicators of soft skill indicators, personality indicators, be in detail explaining tools of soft skill, whether be it a basic body language skill to the more complex tool of selective revelation and perception, which I think is very important because that is where the onus lies on individual, onus lies on the person in itself. If to quote you, to change the narrative, the onus should be on us. So, it has been a wonderful presentation, and I will just read out the questions so that you can, answer them.
Yes.
Tito Verghese says that with the recent highly motivational speech by Kamala Harris and the example of New Zealand Minister Priyanka Radhakrishnan, what is your personal advice to the students, especially girls, when it comes to taking up more responsibilities in India?
Thank you for the question, Tito. It is really a proud moment for us women to see Kamala Harris and Priyanka Radhakrishnan taking such high positions, and it is definitely inspirational. And coming to your question about responsibilities for women in India, I think the very first thing that I would say is never to let yourself feel that you're a woman. It is okay. We are all human. And take responsibility. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to feel privileged for getting a responsibility. It is okay. A man never thinks that he is a man if at all he has to take more responsibilities. So I think the primary change that I would expect from girl students in India would be the attitude change of accepting that gender bias need not be considered to pursue whatever they are willing to.
Yeah. Thank you, Neha. There is a comment by Smita Shanoy. She says that first I thought how can be soft skill different for men and women, but now I realize it is important to know uh, some different skills which women must develop. So, she has congratulated you for bringing that out very clearly and giving such a very good presentation. Just for information, how just the thing that I have in my mind, like there is always this saying, especially from generation above us. Probably you and me would belong to the same generation, but there is always gap in the generation where certain skill set or certain tool which are very contemporary to us might not be accepted soft skill for the generation which older to us. So
Correct.
how do you deal with that when you are dealing with the different generations of people?
That is a very good question, ma'am. And fortunately, I haven't been experiencing much of it outside India, but I completely understand your question about the different expectations that we have on generations, and it more binds with the cultural expectation of what is expected as a soft skill across different generations. I think conversation is the key, and trying to make the older generations understand by conversation about why we are trying to aspire something and why it is important is the only thing that I can think of at this moment. Trying to engage them, making them feel a part of our own journey, making them understand that they are equally responsible for our aspirations, and engaging them in the conversation, making them feel involved in our journey is the key. Is what I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's one more question. I think we will take this question and we will move on to our next speaker who is ready and who is waiting there among the participants. Again, it's from Tito Varghese, who says that I think the social expectations and the attitude of society that makes women think that they are privileged. What do you think are the most important attitudinal change in Indian women?
Attitudinal change in Indian women is to the first hand experience that I have had is I have always felt encouraged when the other women, or my teammates who are senior women, have not judged me for my cultural background, have not bothered about my personal life, whether I'm married, whether I have children, or if I'm doing well in my career. Or maybe she's doing well in her career because she doesn't have children yet. Maybe because, so tying every single aspect of a woman with her personal life is extremely detrimental, and I think that happens extensively in the Indian society. So for Indian women, to address the question, I think all women should stop trying to know the personal story behind a person and just try and learn and appreciate a professional side of the women. We never ask personal questions when a man is successful. We only write books about how he was successful. The moment a woman is successful, we start digging in the personal side of the story. I think that is the primary most attitudinal change we want in the Indian women.
Yeah, thank you, Neha. In fact, that reminds me of Indra Nui's statement, the one who led PepsiCo for a very, very long time. She always said that being a woman, she always had to also think of second line of management at home, not just at work. So, the kind
Yes.
of responsibility that comes with being a woman itself is something much beyond, and it would take a longer time to deal with that. But your
Absolutely.
last answer did remind me of Indra Nui's book, and it's a very wonderful read. Thank you so much, Neha, for joining and enlightening us with why there should be a soft skill for women and how that should be looked at in the industrial perspective. Thank you so much for joining us. I now call on Saurav to continue the proceedings.
Thank you. I guess I have taken slightly over the time. My apologies, but I hope all of you enjoyed the session. And it was really nice meeting you all virtually. And thank you for this opportunity once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, please note that the feedback forms will be circulated after the fourth session on the third day, that is tomorrow. Thank you. And now I invite Sahana R of second year PG, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, to introduce our third speaker, Mr. Saurabh V.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Saurabh V. Mr. Saurabh is a freelance feature writer, sports journalist, and sports photojournalist for Star of Mysore from 3 years. He has a BA degree in English Literature, Functional English and Journalism from St. Philomena's College, Mysore, MA in Media and Communications from Manipal University, and post-graduation in Sports Management from SDM Institute for Management Development, Mysore. As a sports management professional with more than 2 years of experience, he has covered different games, written different types of pieces, and contributed for sports action photographs. Saurabh has conducted interviews with players and coaches and has covered KPL, Karnataka Premier League, CK Naidu Trophy, Masters Swimming Championship, and many more. He was sports writer and publisher for Outlook India magazine in 2019, where he did live blogs and text commentary for IPL in 2019, managed events and social media. He was sports administration and operations intern in IIS, Inspire Institute of Sports, during October-November 2018. He did content writing for Kalo India reports and official documents and many more. He have also done venue management, match day operations, and social media management for KPL in August-September 2018. His skills are strong managerial skills, content writing, event management, action photography, and social media, strong organizational communication and interpersonal skills, comfortable with diverse populations, relevant computer and technology proficiency, time management, and strong negotiation skills. Mr. Saurabh is presently working in University of Otago, Dunedin, New Zealand. Let's welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Saurabh V. In this session, he will be presenting sports coverage in digital era. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a presentation?
Yeah, I have a presentation. Just a
We
second.
can test it.
Okay, is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. You can start now, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, one and all. Today I'm going to talk on the topic sports coverage in the digital era. As you all know, sports is an integral part of India, and by 2025, India is going to be a sporting giant in the world. Sports coverage and consumption of sports has changed drastically over the years. Consumption of sports by audiences has increased several folds over the years. People from all walks of life have some sort of affinity or the other towards sports or sporting events or sporting icons. They consider them as role models or follow the sporting lifestyle or implement that culture. The emergence of digital media has completely changed the sports journalism scenario. With everything now accessible at your fingertips, fans can always stay connected in the game. For example, imagine I'm a Manchester United fan, and if I want to know some update about Manchester United, I just go onto Google and type Manchester United FC, and I get all the details regarding their past history. I get all the details regarding their upcoming fixtures, upcoming score lines, the previous matches, who are the players, what are their squad numbers, everything. Imagine all of these with just a mobile device and just an internet connection. Such is the changing scenario of the digital era. Let's see what were the traditional ways of following the sports. When I was in a young boy, like in the 2000s, the main ways to follow sports were newspapers, magazines, radio commentary, or TV. Let me start with newspapers. So, in the earlier days, the sports pages were considered the pages that gave monetary benefits to the newspapers because the advertisers generally advertised or gained their ad slots in the sports pages because people turned to the last pages first and then to the first pages, which just like me. But slowly, things are undergoing a major transition, all due to digital media. And then coming to the radio commentary and TV. Radio commentary was considered to be a sports journalism on the go. Whenever I used to travel, or whenever anyone used to travel, they used to listen to live sports commentary, especially being in India, it was the cricket commentary generally. And TV. There was a big sporting revolution in India with the emergence of Indian Premier League. The Indian Premier League completely changed the sports scenario, not just the sports scenario, but the sports journalism scenario in India, with selling the broadcasting rights, and they have auctions between Star Sports, Sony, and even Facebook was there for the bidding rights. But this time recently, Star Sports won the bidding rights for IPL by paying a very huge amount. Let us see what are the modern ways of following the sports. In the current scenario, we follow sports in very different ways. For example, we use the online web platforms, we use web TVs, live streaming apps, Hotstar like Hotstar, Sony Live, etc. Even during the last 1 month being here, I used to follow IPLs staying here with the Hotstar app. And also when we are on the go, we like some more detailed commentaries. For example, we follow text commentaries where we get ball by ball score updates, or in the case of football, we get minute by minute updates or any major happenings during the games. And the modern fan loves an interactive media where he can see the complete live scorecards with an auto refresh, so he stays updated with the game. And then there are social media platforms, YouTube vlogs, and blogs. Features of sports journalism in the digital era. So I identified 3 major features of sports journalism in the digital era. They are immediacy, continual production, and audience interaction. So let us see what is immediacy. So immediacy means it's the phase where fans can get to know the live updates as the game is happening with the aid of live streaming, live commentary, in-text commentary. We fans do not like to watch the highlights. We like to stay connected with the game during the live relay. So what we want is we want constant updates, content score lines, and we want it to be refreshed automatically. So we use several apps, or we go online, or even in the Google platform. Even the Google platform now provides updated score lines at every single second. And they have the detailed phased out commentaries too, where you can select the wall by wall updates or minute by minute updates. And then coming to the continual production. Fans are hungry to consume more and more insights about various facets that revolve around the game. They need constant updates on the go. But the major feature that is changing sports journalism, not just sports journalism, even sports in the digital era, is the audience fan interaction. Audience interaction. So, what is this audience interaction? This is one of the key attributes that has changed the sports media sector completely. Social media has changed the way sports and clubs and fans are interacting with each other. For example, from live Insta stories to tweets, the player fan interaction or engagement has completely transformed how sports is being consumed by audiences. For example, during the recent IPL, all the teams had their own social media handles. Players would come online and interact directly with the audiences. For example, you could see during the 14-day quarantine which the players had to serve in Dubai, each of the players were given the official handle of the particular club, and they told stories of what they did during the day, how they spent their quarantine life, and what all was happening in the team. So fans like to know more about the players with every passing day. And also there are other types of fan engagements like 360-degree fan engagement, and there are fan apps where now you can play the fantasy virtual leagues with the sports icons themselves. Like the sports icon will build his own virtual team, and you can build your own virtual team and you can have a fantasy battle with him. And also there is something called a sports science and technology, which has made a drastic change in the sports scenario. So every sports person is now fitted with a chip called something called as the catapult chip, which is installed in his bib or in his jersey. So using the particular fan-based app, you can get to know how many kilometers that particular person has run, what is his heartbeat, and what is his strength, and you can get to know all the stats, who is performing better on which, how many balls he has dribbled, how many runs he has made, how many tackles he has made. So every stat is available at the end of a fingertip. So this is what is changing the sports scenario. But coming to the media sphere, this is changing the media landscape completely. Sporting bodies are also developing their own media platforms and companies. So, for example, sports bodies have their own channels now or own media platforms. Like Manchester United Football Club has their own TV called as MUTV, and then the NBL has their own TV called as the NBL TV. They use their own media platform to broadcast games, give news updates. Another interesting aspect that sports clubs have targeted is sponsorship through these mediums. So that is the emergence of sports marketing and advertising has brought in new source of funding. So they are trying to build a fan base and give them an insight into the sports clubs or the happenings. The online media channels give them an inside view of the dressing room, discussions, post-match celebrations, etc. With sports marketing coming into picture and advertising paving way for more funds, these indigenous media platforms or channels have gained more prominence as it is a win-win situation for the club, fan, as well as the media interaction. So this is a drastic shift in the traditional way of following the sport, because sports organizations now tell stories or news directly to the fans. No media is brought in the picture. So even the fans like the experience of getting the first-hand information directly from the club. Being passionate or fanboys, they want to interact with the players, they want to interact with the coaches, and they get a sense of being featuring live with the players. For example, recently, Indian cricketer Ravichandran Ashwin, who was in the Delhi Capitals camp, conducted quizzes and also organized talk shows where the fan could come online and feature in this live Insta handle. It is definitely a sporting fan's delight. The instantaneous, intimate, and interactive nature of social media and mobile technologies makes them perfect platforms to fuel our sporting desires. Being a sports fan, I definitely love this because I can stay connected with my role model. I can talk to him. I can see what he's doing during the day. I can follow my favorite club, for example, Manchester United. I can know the squad before everyone else. I can know the inside details, like for example, if you are a cricket fan, you might know the Amazon Prime has streamed something called the Test, where you come to know about how Australia has grown in cricket. So Walter Lim, a Singaporean commentator, quotes, "Sport and social media are a match made in heaven." It is definitely made in heaven. You can get live streaming on the go, Insta live stories, FB live, audience fan interaction, fantasy leagues, get a chance to play fantasy league with sports icons, ball by ball text commentaries, pre-match and post-match analysis, statistics, infographics, etc. So this has completely changed the way sports is being consumed by audiences. Now audiences just do not want to hear about the result, about what happened. They want something more. They want something that is more interactive, where they get a chance to comment, they get a chance to say their opinion, where they have a chance to speak with their club or the manager, or where they can voice their opinions, or where they can share stories by tagging their clubs. So this new media has completely changed a sporting fan's delight. Online journalism. Online journalism can be categorized media audiences into two different sections based on their media consumption posture. So based on the media consumption posture, how an audience consumes his media, it has been classified in two types. One, it is those who recline, and the second is those who lean forward. The ones who recline are the ones who switch the channel or flip the pages continuously in the newspaper until they find something they like, or they tend to read everything, or they tend to see everything that they find. And the other type of audiences are the ones who lean forward. These are very straightforward audiences, and most of the sporting fans fall into this category because they go directly to the particular page, or they go to the particular app or the particular web portal. For example, being here, I go directly to a live streaming app to stream the apps, and then to the HDMI cable, I stream it on my television. So these are the lean forward kind of sports fans that generally come into this category, who directly go to the particular page or particular section to follow the sporting icons. But even though a person sitting in one corner of the world can see a game in any corner of the world, and the entire world has become a global village and everything is accessible with a single click or a single touch, there are some concerns in the air related to sports journalism in the digital era. The relationship between fans, sports stars, and clubs and journalism is shifting rapidly, which is raising drastic concerns. This changing media landscapes, where sports organizations can tell their stories directly to their fans through their own social or digital channels, is making it more difficult for traditional news journalists to get access to athletes or coaches. So, for example, because all these people have their own media channels, like for example, like I told you, the Manchester United TV has the right to broadcast their content or first-hand content. So the players will be under the contract to give interviews to those particular channels. Their players will reach out only to those particular break news only through those particular platforms. So it is very difficult for the other sports journalists to get access to them. The organization's media department often holds the power to decide which players appear where, when, and it's becoming more common that their own channels win. And this, it is to also be noted that every sports club or every sports star or a sports icon nowadays has its own PR or a brand manager. So they know how to manage the brand quotient of a particular player or a club, and they release the particular press releases depending on their status. While the rise of internet has obviously impacted all corners of journalism world, if you were ranking the most affected, sports reporters at newspapers would be high on the list. There are several problems to sports journalism or sports journalists. Technology is disrupting the journalistic practice, and I personally went through this. For example, because of news agencies, wires, and social medias, there is constant inflow of sports news every 2 minutes. So every 2 minutes, you get a lot of sports news that flows into your computer. And now the emphasis is on publishing it then before the other one publishes it. Because all the sports media organizations or the media organizations have access to news agencies, everyone is on the rush to publish them and get clicks on the internet. So this has been disrupting the traditional journalistic practice. 24/7 working agenda for journalists. This increased workload is due to the expansion of digital media because a one person has to handle multiple platforms and also due to the trimming of staff. Isn't it an irony because digital media was supposed to decrease the workload, but here it is definitely increasing the workload. For example, it is 24/7 working agendas for journalists because a person sitting in one corner of the world is covering the sports happening in the other corner of the world. He gets news from the news agencies and he has to publish it before the other media agencies publish it with the use of right keywords. And now the emphasis is more on the speed rather than the content. So what I went through was sports reporters are now regarded as content providers or modifiers and not journalists in many organizations. So what you basically do is because of the inflow of sports news through the wire or the news agencies, you just if you Google a particular news, sports news on the Google platform, you can just see that apart from the first two paragraphs and the last paragraphs, the middle content or the almost the entire content is the same crux. They just rephrase it. So it's because the news comes in from the news agencies and sports reporters who are now the content providers or modifiers just modify the content. The notion of clicks per view and speeding up the uploading of news has taken priority over the quality of news. The speed or immediacy has taken top priority compared to the quality of news. So there is no emphasis on giving the background research or the detailed analysis of the game. It is about how you upload, how quick you upload it on the digital platform, and how fast you reach to the audiences, and later you can edit the piece. Sports journalists also need to promote their stories via multiple platforms. Not all sports journalists are equipped or well versed with using multiple platforms, and this is a challenge to them. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is less emphasis on quality and more emphasis on speed and immediacy. Is the digital media to be blamed? Due to the speed of Twitter, there is an outsized emphasis on getting information out quickly, and many of the journalists in the study felt like there was a pressure to get information about as quick as possible. So the main emphasis is to put the news as soon as you get it through the news agency. So in order to do so, all the sports modifiers or the sports journalists, as you can call them, are now more focused on putting the story online rather than editing the content or writing their own story piece, which is a major concern for sports journalism in the digital era because people are more worried about getting the clicks, reaching out to more number of people, getting more likes, getting more comments, and getting more fan engagement more than rather than the quality of the content. One post media NHL journalist noted, when you're writing a million little things, it's going to take away from the quality of the big thing. The quality bar was much higher before. This relates to the concept that because the sports journalist gets lots of news and inputs from the news agencies, so he's forced to write several stories in a particular day. Like just as I mentioned in the previous slide, there's a lot of workload. So nowadays, sports journalists are writing a million little short stories compared to one big quality written piece. So what they do is they just take the content that it comes through the news agencies and they just modify as per the convenience within the limited time, and then it is ready to be published on the online platforms, and then they share it on the various their respective social media handles. So the quality bar is going lower because the concentration is on writing a little million things. It not just increases the burden on the journalist, but it's also causing a damage to sports journalism. But there are also some opportunities. With so many challenges in the sports coverage during the digital era, it also opens up opportunities for budding journalists to use a mix of traditional writing style along with digital media to cover sports in a credible and a journalistic way. Sports journalists need to rise the game in order to retain the journalistic credibility. The article needs to concentrate more on having well researched material rather than just putting it out there for the audiences. Effective sports writing needs to be incorporated where journalists use the mix of writing along with digital media platforms to engage audiences. Effective sports writing. A good sports lead will have highlight of the game, the teams or players involved, type of sport, outcome of the game, score, when the game was played, and where was it played. The lead needs to describe the scene and should summarize the entire game. And you must use the inverted pyramid style. And it is highly necessary to use sports technical languages, for example, man cutting, offside, etc. So considering this point, you must also know your audiences. Like you should know like what type of audience you're writing for. For example, sports journalists need to be aware when to write what type of story, and nowadays they need to be more creative. Network or stay in touch with sports brand managers or PR to get first-hand information or access to gain information or interview athletes. This is one of the key parameters in the current modern scenario. A sports journalist need to be in connection, in touch with, has a good rapport with the brand managers or PRs of the sports club or a particular sports icon or a sports star, because a sports brand manager or a PR will give you the first-hand information or access to gain information to the athletes. For example, you can contact that particular brand manager who manages this particular specific athletes to gain a particular information, or you can request them for an interview. So this is one of the main key points for challenging the digital media. So use digital media and social media platforms to reach out to wider audiences. So even though while writing a sports article, use the social and digital media platforms to reach out to wider audiences by using hashtags and promote your story on various online platforms. For writing a sports article, you need to have foremost a very crisp headline. Ensure your headline attracts the audiences. Your story must answer the 5 W's and 1 H of journalism. It should describe the most thrilling aspect of the game, highlight of the game. For example, if football matches happen, you need to highlight a particular, for if in instance, if a person has scored a hat trick after several times, you need to highlight his particular scoring scenario and after how long he has scored, and what duration and what time did he score. So giving more details, because fans like to consume more in-depth details, and they want something more than the regular stuff. Use sports technical vocabulary or language, as I already said. And another main thing is obtain statistics and connect it actively with your story. It is generally seen in the traditional form. The statistics used to be just in a particular box, or it used to be in one corner. But the modern requirement is that you get a lot of statistics, not just the statistics from the particular match. You also get statistics from the pre-matches. You get the statistics from the older matches. For example, if a game is being played in a particular venue, for example, consider the Eden Gardens in Kolkata, you need to get the statistics of how many teams have won by batting first, how many teams have won by batting second, how many teams have chased the score successfully, or what is the average score in the first innings or the average score in the second innings. Bring in more data and bring in more statistics, because people love to read more and people love more depth and more details, because they connect it to the game very well. Get quotes from players, coaches, groundsmen, team staff, etc. to add more value to the story. This will give more momentum to your story, because direct quotes from players, coaches, and groundsmen gives that immediate connect to the audiences. People don't just like reading, but they also like to hear from their role models, their icons, the sporting icons, the coaches, what they have to say. This is not just after the match, but even pre-match. So even nowadays, some journalists are using this formula where they get quotes from players or coaches. Even like just like football, the football scenario has always had the pre-match scenarios and the post-match scenarios. Where the pre-match scenarios, you can see the captain and the coach come and give a description of the players available, the players who are injured, the players who are undergoing a transition or who are undergoing a transfer from different clubs. So this gives more value to the story, because the audience get to know something more which the other news articles don't cover. For getting those quotes, it is highly required that you have a good connection with the sports club brand manager or the PR of the sports club or the sporting icon. Also have a complete scorecard, as the modern audience likes to see the full scorecard. During my early days, I always used to observe that in the newspapers there always used to be just brief scores and not complete full scorecards. This is a major concern why we had to shift to the online platform to view just to look at the full scorecard, because the current sports fan is completely into sporting culture and he wants to know the complete scorecard and every possible single detail. So it is highly relevant to give audiences a full scorecard where he gets to know the complete score, complete data, because he wants to know each and every single aspect of the game. Another way is to connect your story with the digital media and the social media and design ways to drive more and more traffic. So you need to incorporate more techniques like write a story, publish it online on the media platforms, and you can tag the particular social media handles of the particular sporting clubs of about whom you have written, or the sporting icons whom you have written, and you can also tag the events, sporting events, or the sport event organizers, so that you drive more traffic and you get more views and more people get to see your work. Use narrative style of writing wherever required. So you might remember that in the 2019 in the 2019 Cricket World Cup, the same day there was a Wimbledon finals, and the two games were happening in England. With both games happening, there were like a couple of journalists managed to write beautiful pieces of stories where they combined both the games in the piece of timeline, and they narrated mixed the game of cricket and tennis and gave a very detailed and a narrative style of story writing to engage audiences. Delve into a topic of interest to the normal reader. So understand what interests the normal readers. Understand what makes a person go to social media or the particular, for example, the MUTV or the particular sports media, social media handles, and understand what interests them to go there. And you have to create that sort of interest in your story where you have that particular unique element that will make the audiences read your particular piece. As I said earlier, statistics, statistics, and statistics. Statistics is the key. For example, use statistics in very different parameters. For example, you can use statistics in a descriptive form, and also you can provide a table where you have the statistics describing the events, the score lines, the timelines, and this will engage the audiences. Have more of click on infographics or images. Sports fans generally love infographics, and they love to watch images. Especially action-based images attract the audiences. So whenever you publish a story and you connect it online, use a lot of images and infographics where if a person clicks on a particular infographic, it leads to a particular page where he gets more detailed analysis. For example, if you say, considering yesterday's Indian Premier League final where Mumbai Indians won the IPL title for the fifth time, if that concept is written on the story, if a person clicks on it, it should lead to him the pages like which all years did Mumbai Indians win the IPL trophy, and it should also say which all teams won the particular IPL in the particular year. So that will create more interest and to the audiences. Tag concerned, as I said earlier, tag concerned clubs, sports players, coaches, etc. on your social media platform and slowly build a brand for yourself to be mutually recognized by those clubs. Build a social media profile to gain fan base. Write pre-match stories, post-match analysis to engage audiences. Engaging audiences is the main challenge in the current digital era scenario in relation to sports journalism, because all the sports organizations have now started developing the audience and the sports fan interaction, which is driving a huge revenue in terms of sports marketing, sports advertising, sports business, and is bringing a lot of avenues into the game. And because it is bringing the fan closer to the audience. In earlier days, it was highly impossible even for a fan to stay in connect with a sporting icon. But nowadays, the scenario is completely different because of the sports advertising and sports marketing technology. Sports brands and sports clubs now have their particular social media handles where they're bring in their own players or sporting icons, who now interact with the players, engage audiences, and they do live streams, they have live chats, and the fan feels as though, because the fan, the current modern sporting fan is very passionate about his game and his icons, he connects well and he wants to stay connected and close to the club and the game. This is a very crucial phase for sports journalism. With the right mix of talent, content, technical skills, and partnerships, sports journalism will once again truly come of age. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saurabh. Now, Dr. Vagdevi HS, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, will take over for the Q&A session.
Thank you. Moving from one Saurav to one more Saurabh, you both also share the name with a slightly different accent. Thank you, Saurabh. You have taken us through the changing media landscape, more so with that of sports journalism, from discussing the problems to bringing out the opportunities. Being in this digital age, you have with your experience have brought in or have given insight on what all should one keep in mind while writing effective piece of sports article, how to make it more appealing, more audience readable, and so on. Thank you very much for that. Now we'll take on some questions. Again, Tito Verghese has asked that how can user-generated content be used along with our report in sports reporting? Do you want me to repeat?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. How can user-generated content be used along with the report in a sports reporting?
So basically, I think user-generated content means like something like a blog, or yeah. So it can be used for sports reporting if you're considering it for an online platform, but I don't think it will be that authentic if you use it for a written piece for example, in the traditional media platforms. So, but you can use it in the online platforms by giving the credit to the particular person or source, and from where you got the information. And you also need to do a background research or background study if that particular information is authentic or not.
Yeah. Until we get any other questions, Saurabh, I have one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the difference you feel between the coverage of sports journalism between India and the other part of the world? Probably you are now in Australia, so you can.
And New Zealand, yes.
Yeah. Give us the contrast in the way, for Indians, sports is a religion, more so
Yes,
cricket.
definitely, yes.
So, what is the contrasting thing? And the second part is what is the women representation in sports journalism?
So that is a very good question because currently I was doing research regarding the same of women representation, identity politics in sports. The women representation is one of the key concerns in sports journal scenario. For example, if you consider the airtime given to women's sports is very, very less. If you recently consider the Indian Premier League itself, the women's team, they had just 3 teams and they just had 7 games, and the empty stadiums did not matter to them much because even during the last years it was almost empty stadiums everywhere most of the times. So it is a very unfair for the women's sports, and I think it's also leads to the media coverage because they don't get in more revenue. So it is directly related to that because the men's sports the men's cricket gets more revenue and they fund the women's league, but they need to bring in some changes in the sporting structure, not in the sports media structure. For example, they need to bring in some concept like it happens in the Australian cricket league, where the each and every single men's cricket team needs to have a mandatory women's team. Only if they have a mandatory women's team can their team represent in the top league. So they need to bring in some changes as like that. And also, if you see, there are not much women sports journalists around the world. So this is also another major concern. There is very less representation of women sports journalists, and women sports journalists need to, like, more number of women need to come into the sporting scenario. First, the women needs to start following sports. For example, if you consider, like, there are most women who just follow the mainstream sports because of the sporting culture and not because of the passion, and that stereotype needs to change, and more and more number of people need to come into sports journalism. And answering your previous question, I think there is a little bit of change. Like, Indians are very passionate about cricket, and the cricket tends to take the main limelight compared to other sports in the Indian scenario. And Indian sports journalism is more based towards the narrative style of writing. I mean, in Indian sports journalism is more based towards the narrative style of writing, and I feel that the sports journalism in New Zealand is more about giving more analytics, giving more statistics, and they have a lot of interviews and direct talks with the managers, coaches, where they get deep insights direct from the person, rather than from speculations. And for example, if you consider the English Premier League and the football transfers, there is more of rumors that go around related to transfers, but here it's more of you go and directly approach to the particular club or a particular sporting icon or the brand managers and get the first-hand information.
Yeah. Saurav, we have a question from can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
To what extent does the knowledge about the game is important when you're doing a sports reporting?
That's what the background. What I meant by background is to know about the knowledge about the game. Knowledge about the game is very, very important in sports reporting, because you need to know who the players are. For example, if you consider the English Premier League scenario, you might know the major players, or you might recognize the players by the names printed on the jerseys. But if you come to the lower leagues, and if you come to the Indian scenarios of the lower sports, there the players won't have any names. So you need to know the names of the players. You need to know the rules. It is very evident that you know all the terminologies. You should know the officials. You need to know what rules come into place, what are the statistics, and how the game will phase out, what are the dimensions of the ground. So you need to have the complete background information of everything before you report about a particular sport. And each sport requires a particular genre of style or writing, where you need to know, for example, the cricket you need to know about how what kind of a format of a game it is, and because it's a over type of a format, and whereas the football is a time kind of a format, so you need to know how to write for the particular formats.
Yeah, partially you have answered the next question also, which says that Vishnu asks coach. Should I repeat myself?
Yes,
Yeah, Vishnu asks here that does reporting style change from one sport to another?
yes, it definitely changed from one sport to another. If it's especially like I told you, from football to cricket, if it's a time format to an over format, and if it's an individual sport to a team sport, so you need to know what to write and where the emphasis needs to go. For example, if it's a cricket format, you need to give the description about the runs and who scored and what happened. And whereas if it's a time format, you need to mention, like, who scored at which point of time, and when did he come. For example, if he was a substitute, when did he come and what time did he come and change the game. So the reporting style definitely changes from one sport to another sport.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for
Thank you,
taking
ma'am.
all the questions and giving us a wonderful insight into sports journalism in digital era and uh, talking on various aspects of the same. Thank you so much. I now request Saurav to take over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication and St. Philomena's College, I would like to thank the resource persons who have provided in-depth insights into their topics, and also a big thank you to the participants as we conclude today's session. Thank you all, and see you for the final session tomorrow by Divya Lakshmi Nambia on content writing at 3 p.m., followed by the valedictory function. And also note that the feedback forms will be circulated after the fourth session tomorrow. Thank you.